The manufacturer of this high downforce prototype race car is giving one of my subscribers a full day in one of these cars. Yes, you heard that right, one of you will be driving this beast of a race car. But of course, there's just one catch. In order to unlock the test day for you guys, I will have to complete a set of challenges throughout this video, all judged by industry professionals. They're gonna treat me just like any other rookie coming out of karting, and honestly guys, the pressure is really on.
I'll give it my best shot.
All right, so you join me here at, I think it's 6:42 a.m. Very early morning here in New Orleans. Today's the day. We're gonna be driving a race car for a race car manufacturer for the first time, and I'm feeling a little bit nervous, quite honestly. I guess now I just gotta meet the team, I've gotta make a good first impression and get acquainted with the car, the track, and everything. I've gotta learn so much today, so I just need to be on my A game and not make any mistakes. First things first, I need to make a good impression on the team by remembering some names and shaking some hands.
Good, how are you?
Good, Ryan.
Cameron, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you, Cameron.
Hey, how's it going? Cody, nice to meet you. Hi, Cameron.
In a team this big, there are a lot of names and faces to get familiar with, but this is a face I'll be seeing a lot of over the next couple of days. Dakota is a seasoned race car driver who also happens to be the team principal of Stratus Racing, who's hosting me over the next couple of days. So not only is he going to be one of the key individuals judging me today, but he'll also be setting the reference lap time I need to try and match by the end of this video.
Yeah, looking forward
It's
to it.
been fun watching your stuff online.
Oh yeah,
man.
yeah. Well, you're part of the show now, so.
But perhaps I got a little too carried away with the introductions.
All right, I've already broken rule number 1. Not make any mistakes. Do not be late for the driver's meeting, and it's currently 7:33. Driver's meeting was at 7:30, so I'm booking it in the golf cart. Okay, I'm running. Can't make this up.
Luckily for me though, I made the start of the driver's meeting by the skin of my teeth. Considering this is just a practice event, it probably wasn't the biggest of deal to be a couple minutes late. But had this been an official race event, I would have been in some deep water already.
All right. We're technically ready, I think. Sort of.
Now, regular viewers of the channel will know that this isn't actually my first day with a professional race team. That day actually happened about 10 years ago. Back in 2014, I went indoor electric karting for the very first time. It was just supposed to be a friendly competition among friends, but within just a few months, it spiraled into a full-blown racing career. I ended up winning my first regional karting title, then I won my first race at racing school, then my first national championship in F4, and then even a championship in European F3.
The purpose of this video is to show you guys what it's like to make that transition from karts into professional race cars for the first time. This is the video I wish someone had made for me all those years ago, but hopefully it can be valuable for you guys.
All right, moment of truth. It's time for my first drive in the car. Really, the only objective for me is just drive fast, don't crash. Learn the track, learn the car. Like,
This is the one session where you don't want to spin, you don't want to go off, because it will make a terrible impression on the team, because you're obviously taking a risk you shouldn't. So I just really need to get comfortable, but it's hard to get comfortable when you're honestly so uncomfortable. Let's see how it goes.
All of the preparation I've done up to this point, the simulator, the gym, the onboard studying, is all leading up to this moment, my first session in the real car. Of course, over the years, I've theoretically developed all the skills I need in go-karts, but will any of it actually translate to the real deal? I guess there's only one way to find out.
Oh, of course I had to stall it for my first time in the car. Classic. I'm going to do an install lap first just to make sure everything's okay with the car. And then I'm going to be able to let loose as fast as I want. But I don't think I'll be doing anything too crazy yet. Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, it's a proper race car, all right. Woo! Oh, yeah, it's good grip. Holy sh**. Gonna take it easy on this install lap. Yeah, a bit wet through the high speed. That's not gonna be fun. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna take it into the pit lane now. Make sure everything's okay with the car before I properly let loose. Oh, what a cool car so far. This is gonna be a fun weekend, man. Just gotta make sure I keep on top of everything and keep the team happy. Whew. All right, that's almost one lap without bending it. Good first start.
So the install lap is about bringing a few things up to temperature slowly and for the mechanics to check over the car, and now that we know it's all good to go, it's all on me.
All right, now's the moment of truth. So slippery through here. God, I'm still braking too early. I just don't have confidence there for some reason. I think I'm not looking into the apex soon enough. I've got a Toyota Supra in front of us.
So far, so good. The car is still in one piece, but the huge puddles on track are making me a little bit too nervous to properly start pushing yet.
Oh gosh, I've got a bunch of water on my windscreen. Can't see shit.
Now, the keen-eyed among you will notice that the car ahead of me is a Mark V Supra GT4 car. Since this is an open test day, you're going to see a wide variety of cars on track, and some are stronger in certain parts of the track compared to others. For example, this Supra is a lot slower than my car in corners, but on straights, it definitely has a horsepower advantage.
Let's see if the Supra catches us on the straight. Oh, we're already catching our first competitor here. That's a good sign.
But what really matters is my pace compared to drivers in the same car. That's what the team's going to be evaluating me on.
There we go. First overtake of the day. Whoa, such big bumps. All right, that's the last lap.
And just like that, my first test session is complete, and thankfully with the car still in one piece.
Good?
Yeah, good. Dude, it's such a fun car. It's so playful with the trail brake. Like, it really just loves to rotate. Like, it's fun.
Brought it back in one piece, so goal number one is done. Oh, such a fun car to drive. Like, it's really playful on the trail brake. So like, you mat it, and then as soon as you're releasing and you're coming in the corner entry, it loves to rotate, like depending on your driver inputs, which is exactly what you want as a driver. You want the car to be responsive to that. You don't want to have to force it to do stuff you don't want to. Still super nervous on braking and stuff. Like, I'm braking early everywhere because I just don't know what the braking capability of the car is yet. It's clearly better than I am at the moment. So I'm just taking it easy, and then step by step, we'll keep working on brake points. And then it's conquering the high speed. The high speed's pretty gnarly in this car with the bumps. It's like just massive bumps that throw you, and it's like, it's wet as well through there at the moment. So I just do not want to be the one to send it off this early in the day. So it's gonna be fun. Time and time again, karting has proven itself to be the most effective training platform for young drivers, especially when paired with sim racing. I think I'm actually living proof of that you can just jump straight from karting into professional motorsports and do semi-okay. But unfortunately, there is one major hurdle that is increasingly difficult to jump over, and that is money. Entry-level series like Formula 4, USF 2000, LMP3, and GT4 have doubled, tripled, quadrupled over the last 5 years, making it even more difficult for the next generation of drivers to actually get into this sport. Motorsports has always been expensive, don't get me wrong, but the barrier to entry has never been high. But perhaps this very car I'm sitting on is the solution. So you're probably wondering, what is this car? Well, it's a SEBECO NP01-EVO. It's a prototype style, which means it's essentially built like a Formula car, but you've got a bunch of bodywork on it. So it's high downforce, low power. It's got a lot of mechanical grip, but it's also got a lot of aero grip. So it's really the perfect training platform for driving all sorts of stuff. But unlike Formula cars, this car can be run in both endurance and sprint racing championships. So you get the best of both worlds. But honestly, the feature I'm most excited about for you guys is how cost effective this car is to run. But before I get into the specific numbers of this car, let me give you some references of what other similar championships are like. So everyone knows Mazda MX-5 is one of the best entry-level platforms for getting into hardtop racing. But did you know that today it costs around $250,000 to $300,000 per season to run with a good team, and you don't even own the car at the end of that? Or let's say you want to run something a little bit flashier, like an IMSA GT4 car, which by the way is 4 seconds a lap slower than an NP01, but that car could run you up to $1
million a season to run effectively. Or of course, you could go down the formula route, but those numbers are even crazier, with F4 now easily running between $400,000 and $1 million a season. Or International 3 could easily run you $1 million to $2.5 million a season these days. So this car, this NP01, is tremendous value for money. But let's get into the details. So SEBECO's goal from the start when building this car was to make it affordable.
So for example, a set of tires that will run you the entirety of an 8-hour endurance race in this car will run you just over $1,000, which is even lower than a lot of performance-based street car tires these days.
Also, to help on costs, this car was designed to run on 93 octane pump gas. So instead of paying $11 or $12 a gallon for race gas, you're only paying $3.50 or $4. But the thing a lot of new drivers don't think about before they get into a championship is just how expensive crash damage will be. But thankfully, SEBECO has thought of that too.
And I'm also noticing here, this has got to be some cost-saving elements. I see some tire marks on the side here, so I'm guessing you guys get pretty, rough and dirty with the racing.
Yes, yeah, and within 8 hours of being on track with GT4s, things can get a little hectic. With that being said, say you want to replace that fender, that's $700 compared to a GT4 where with the headlight assembly, everything like that, it can be anywhere from $3,000 to $3,500, which is astronomical. So another thing, this car is just really user friendly.
Yeah, that's one of those things you don't really think about in karting, especially rental karting, I'd say, where you're not really thinking about like, oh, if I send it up the inside and I damage something, you're not really thinking about the cost. Like the costs aren't going to be that bad. But obviously, as soon as you get into professional level motorsports, you're like, okay, maybe I won't make that move. And that little hesitation is a big deal. So if it's affordable to fix the car, it's affordable to race hard.
And honestly, I'm just scratching the surface of all the different cost-saving elements they've installed in this car. But the moral of the story is, if you wanted to rent this car, full turnkey, arrive and drive, it would cost you about $15,000 for an endurance WRL weekend. Now, don't get me wrong, $15K is a lot of money in any other context. But in modern day motorsports, this is an absolute freaking steal. And by the way, if any of you guys are watching this and you're at that stage where you're ready to make that jump into car racing, or perhaps you're already racing cars but you want a more effective training platform, then you can actually reach out to the contacts I've provided down in the description of the top teams running this car with Arrive and Drive programs. So believe it or not, it's probably cheaper to run this car with tons and tons of track time than it is to run a race kart at the national or international level for a weekend. But now that we all know a little bit more about the car, it's time to get back behind the wheel because I have a lot of objectives to tick off my list today.
Hey, Cam.
Great to meet you.
Great to meet you too. Thanks for coming on down.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Cam, great job out there. You really were taking care of the car, and to be honest, you impressed us quite a bit.
It's good to hear.
You willing to make a little bet on this?
Oh yeah, okay. Let's make it interesting. So Cal has proposed an interesting offer that you guys are certainly going to want to hear. SEBECO is offering one of my subscribers a full test day in this car at Putnam Park later this year for free. But there's just one catch. In order to unlock this test day for you, SEBECO will need me to accomplish more than just keeping the car in one piece. Over the next 2 days, I will be evaluated on everything from my braking precision, my mid-cornering speed and high-speed corners, to my ability to read data with my race engineer. And then on top of it all, SEBECO has set a mystery reference lab I will need to achieve in my final quality simulation session. Considering the implications for you guys, it's an offer I simply can't refuse. Okay, deal's a deal. Okay, time for our next session. I think the track's dried out a little bit. So hopefully that means I can send it a lot harder. I was a little bit too scared when it was fully wet, or at least semi-wet.
Every time I drive a new car or new track, or in this case, both at the same time, I'm super nervous in the first session. But as soon as I have a little bit of time for a mental breather and then I hop back in the car, something just flips in my brain and I have an abundance more confidence. As you can see, the track isn't completely dry just yet, so I'll still have to take it a little bit easy in a few corners, but that doesn't mean I can't still work on some fine tuning. I honestly had no idea where my pace stood in the moment, that is until I started catching some other NP01s. But the real comparison will be against my teammate and team principal Dakota, who's gonna set some reference laps later in the video. With that being said though, that doesn't mean we can't have some fun until then.
Finally, the sun's starting to come out, so we're going to start seeing the lap times really drop, I think. So far, so good. Hope the team thinks the same, though.
All right, so just completed my second session. I feel like now I've had a bit more time to internalize like how this car feels compared to karting. There's honestly more similarities than there are differences. Like, it's super playful. I mean, the car feels super light and it's super responsive on the steering inputs. Like, really any input you give it, the car will do. So whether your inputs are right or wrong or not, it's up to you. Which is pretty similar to karting. There are a couple of things, however, that are a little bit different. For example, now we've got this sequential shifter. I've got to actually blip the throttle. So if you're used to shifter karting, I guess it's not that big of a deal. Also, there's like little things like when I'm behind another car, you know, you think it's closed cockpit, right? Like, oh, you're gonna have visor down. There's not gonna be any dirt or wind or anything. But actually, because there's a little vent there in the front of the nose cone, when I'm behind another car, it kicks up all the dirt and then it just gets shot into the cockpit right at your face. And it caught me off guard a few times, so you gotta actually still put your visor down. But then on the driving side, there are, of course, a couple of major things. Like, for example, now we've got a bunch of downforce. So the higher the speed goes, the more grip we effectively have, which is obviously completely different than karting. So a lot of times in the high speed, I've got to just like rewire my brain to think, oh, if I actually brake here, even though it seems like it'll be easier to make the corner, if I actually just go faster and don't brake, I'm actually gonna have way more grip. Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, the goal right now is just not to crash, but I know from the team's perspective, they're looking for me to do a lot more than just not crash. They want me to actually impress. They want me to actually achieve lap times that are similar to my teammates or maybe even better. And of course, it might even rain tomorrow, so they're of course looking for me to have good performance in the wet as well. So I really gotta cover all my bases. I gotta be good with the engineer when we head back into the office here in a minute. And there's a lot riding on this, especially for you guys, so let's keep pushing.
The next thing on the agenda is for me to actually evaluate my driving in data. Race car drivers spend 90% of race weekends actually in the office of the truck going through this telemetry data. And to help us evaluate our driving, we have what's called a race engineer, and in this case, his name is Jason. Jason is an accomplished Formula driver himself and a driver of the SEBECO NP01, so I can't think of a better person to show me the ropes.
I think the fastest lap is this 42.7. Later in the weekend, I think the track actually fell away, and the best we could do were like mid 43s. So I think given the track where it's at, it's definitely not even as good as when we were running mid 43s. There's plenty of different data that we can come through. I'll pull up one of Dakota's laps here.
Get some context here is right now I'm 3 seconds off the reference.
Correct.
Roughly, maybe a little bit less than that. So what I'm really gonna try and look for here is just like big differences in shapes, technique, style, right? Because like we can't really compare apples to apples on
100%, 100%.
I think I noticed something straight away. I'm guessing you noticed the same thing as well. Brake pressures look very off.
The braking in the NP01 is quite unique. It's something where, you kind of go into it because it's such an aero-heavy car. You think it's like a Formula car where you have to, peak it and get off the peak pressure really quickly. But as we find, like as I'm braking in turn 3, you can hit the pressure and just stay in it and the car won't lock up. It's just free. Okay. It's free braking time. So as you can see, the braking efficiency that I have is great, and I'm not even close to locking it up. Definitely just like you can peak it and then just hold it there, almost like a GT car. It's quite surreal. But
yeah, your table's like really long.
It's super long, and it just, like I said, that's where the efficiency is. It just stays there.
Is there a reference you want me to hit there, like how much later on brakes?
For turn 1, if memory recalls correctly, we're getting pretty close to the 2 board.
Close to the 2 board. I'm braking at the 3 board, so that explains a lot. Still a lot of time. Like 3 seconds is a lot, but I think we'll gain maybe a second or 2 seconds, maybe with track condition, hopefully, and then the last second and a half is just gonna have to be me like chipping away at it. If you're happy, I'm happy.
I think this is stellar, especially given those giant puddles on the racetrack. I think that this is great. and shocking. The last sector and the high speed, you know, 5, 6, 7, like that is not easy to do, especially in this car.
It's also helpful here to have an engineer who actually drives the car too. Like, because a lot of times, you know, you have an engineer and it's like, they know all the theory, but then they can't really put it into words exactly what that feels like. So it's cool to have your feedback, Gary.
Yeah, no problem.
Sweet. All right. Well, we know what the goal is now. Turn 1, turn 3 braking. Let's try and brake at the 2 board.
All right, first session after lunch. Obviously, we've had our session now with Jason, the engineer, and we know what we need to work on. Turn 1 and turn 3, braking, I am way too slow. So I don't know if I really got it in me to brake that late, but I'm gonna try. Still some puddles on track, but a lot drier than it was this morning.
So as we discovered in the data, braking point is my biggest issue on track right now. So in turn 1, that's pretty easy to quantify because right now I'm braking at the 3 board, but now I need to brake at the 2 board.
All right, that was the 2.5. That wasn't too scary.
But then in turn 3, it's a little bit more complicated because we don't have any brake markers to indicate where to brake, so I'm having to use off-track references instead.
Oh, that was a bit later, but a bit hairy.
And also now with the sun out, the track is significantly drier, so I'm finally getting to push the high-speed max attack. And man, is this track bumpy through the high speed. Also, the 3rd sector was pretty wet in the morning, but now it's almost entirely dry, so I'm finally getting to feel what the proper racing line feels like. Lap by lap, I kept chipping away at those break points, but to be honest, I'm still really far from getting to where Jason wants me. And me not wanting to end day 1 on a low, I decided to come in for one final pit stop and then one session to put it all together, at least so that I could feel like day 1 was a success. But unfortunately for me, there was an issue I didn't quite expect. With the sun setting directly into my eyes, I could not see a thing going into the key brake zones of turn 1 and turn 3. Now, I could have solved this problem by getting out of the car and switching to a tinted visor, but of course I didn't have the foresight for that. So instead, I just tried to guess the brake points, and as you could probably expect, that didn't really end up working out for me. And at the end of the session, I was a full 1.5 seconds slower than I was just 45 minutes earlier. But if there's any consolation, at least we got some footage that looks like it's straight out of a movie.
Okay, well, that's day 1 done. Objective number 1, car's in one piece. Still some things I need to work on the driving. I didn't accomplish that last goal that Jason had set out, which was to brake at the 2 marker and just push the braking a little bit harder. There's more to do tomorrow, but that's the beauty of having a 2-day test is we're gonna have to put it all together tomorrow. I think the team, just gauging for people's reaction, I think they're liking what they're seeing so far, but I don't really know. I don't know, we're gonna have to put our heads down really and focus tomorrow. So, see you in the morning. Good morning. It is day 2, and today's really the day I've got to put it all together. I mean, yesterday obviously it was about just not crashing, learning the car, learning the track, but today I've got to actually impress the team and impress the manufacturer, because if I want you guys to be able to have your own tests, then it's up to me to basically perform today. Now, historically, whenever I've driven a new car, the first day is always just kind of getting to grips with everything. Like, I'm never going to be the fastest on day 1, but then on day 2, as soon as I've had a sleep, normally, like, it just all starts to make a lot more sense, just automatically. But honestly, before I was going to sleep, I wasn't thinking about racing lines or like break points or anything like that. I was just like, I wish I had had this experience before I went into Formula racing, because think about it. We've got a high downforce, mechanically grip-driven car that is super playful, super responsive to your inputs. You've got a professional racing environment with top-tier engineers and drivers, a competitive series that you could do both sprint racing and endurance racing in for way less money than Formula car racing or even IMSA racing, for example. If I had had this, I would have saved so much money and time and effort making mistakes in US 5000 or F4 or wherever when you've really got the spotlight on you. So I don't know, I feel like if you guys are in that sort of stage where you're going from karting or thinking about going from karting into car racing, you've got to consider a series like this where you can afford to make mistakes before you start spending crazy money and everyone's watching you on TV making those big mistakes. So I don't know, it really put things in perspective, and yeah, I hope this video is valuable for you guys.
Now that we're heading into day 2, the pressure is really on, because Dakota, the team principal, has now set a reference lap that I need to try and beat by the end of the day. So to set off on the right foot, I decided to take a look at that lap in data with the help of Jason, my race engineer.
All right, so before I kick things off on track, the most important thing is to look through the data, compare to Dakota's fastest reference, which was quite a bit quicker. He did a 43.5, my best was a 45.1, so second and a half is not a small amount of time, but hopefully the data makes it obvious. Well, turn 1 is still the major problem.
Yeah, turn 1's a big chunk of time.
Wow, I'm actually baffled.
So of the 1.6 seconds, that's 6/10 of it. 6.5 tenths is just turn 1.
Oh my god. Now, I knew I was still too early in the brake because, it was the efficiency thing. My brake trace is certainly improved. I have way more table, but I'm still peeling up too much, and I know I can fix that. So brake points a little bit, but the minimum speed is what is not, I was not expecting that.
So what I can say, Cameron, is driving these cars, because they have so little power and so much aero, one of the most important things for time and lap is maintenance throttle and minimum speed.
Okay.
Because they just have so low horsepower, they just can't get going again. So when they get stopped up, they unfortunately just can't make it back.
It's like rental karting.
No, literally.
Yeah.
So I know, it's so frustrating because with Dakota, he comes from quite a decorated career. So he's driven tons of cars. And I know when he drove this one, it was a little bit difficult for him to adapt to it because he would brake later than all of us. He would get to full power before all of us. And he would still sometimes in some corners be slower. Because some of us, we're braking early, we're getting on power late, but because of that maintenance throttle between, it's just minimum speed is king in this car.
I see. Okay. You know what? The high speed.
That looks stellar. That's right on the money. In fact, it's funny looking from entry of 4 to entry of 13. It's just a flat line on the delta.
Yeah.
It's got a slight. That's nothing. And those are a lot of. Look at that. I remember yesterday. Remember that big drop off later in the S's, and it looks identical to Dakota. That's
literally. It looks like we're tracing
stellar.
the same line. So.
This is whenever we have guest drivers, this is the hardest part right here for people to get comfortable with, just because the car has so much downforce. So to see just 2 lines just painted perfectly on top of each other, that's something to be proud of.
That's something I know I'm simulating my first day as a professional driver or something, but I guarantee you this day for me 10 years ago and the high speed is where I'd be losing a huge amount of time. That's just purely experience at this point. Okay, we know what we need to work on, and I feel like if I don't do this right now, then I think it's going to be hard to say you're impressed by the end of this test. So
that's not true. I need to see a better turn 1 here. We need to see a half a second gain.
Half a second gain in turn 1. You heard it.
Okay, first session in day 2 here. I've got a lot of time to find in turn 1 and turn 3 especially. Apparently the high speed's not so bad. But if I can't make up this time in turn 1 and turn 3, I just don't know if I will have left a good impression on the team, because that should be simple, especially for a driver at my experience level, honestly.
So following the engineering meeting, my confidence is at an all-time high, and on top of that, the temperature is quite low, meaning the track should be fast and the engine power should be high. So if there was ever a time to put in a competitive lap time, it's right now.
Catching up this GT4 car really fast. Hopefully you can get around quickly.
With the couple of overtakes I made and just my confidence on track, I was certain I was absolutely flying right now. That is until I looked at the actual lap time.
Not more many passes than yesterday.
I was actually baffled in the moment because I really genuinely thought my driving had improved a lot, and then after seeing the times be slower, I think I started overdriving a little bit. So to prevent myself from making a catastrophic mistake, I just decided to pull into the pits, park it, and reevaluate.
Oh man, I'm not really sure how to feel about that last session, to be honest. You know, obviously my main goal was to work on turn 1 and turn 3 because I'm like obviously braking too early and not carrying enough minimum speed. So I feel like I improved that, but the lap time doesn't suggest that. I'm 0.3 laps slower than my best yesterday, so I'm falling backwards. I felt like the car was all over the place. Like, I was catching way more slides, I was getting more snaps oversteer, I was less confident with the car. So I'm not really sure if maybe that's just the tires getting kind of old now, or just me over driving. I'm really not sure. And it's the unknown that kind of makes me a little bit nervous about what the team's thinking as well. So I don't know. We'll see how it turns out at the end.
And even after having 20 minutes to think it over, I still couldn't put my finger on why I was driving slower. Of course, as a racing driver, my gut reaction was to blame it on the condition of the tires.
You can see those kind of like vertical lines going through the tires. You can see there's like really not much tread on them, like almost like a slick.
So I decided to ask the team to expedite my qualifying session and to throw me on the fresher rubber. So now this is when the rubber truly meets the road.
So Cameron, what are you doing now?
Well, it's actually quali time now. So the teams put on a fresher set of tires so that they can apparently those tires actually weren't kind of getting towards the end of their life. Still probably a bit in driving, but we've got fresher tires, low fuel. If I'm ever going to put in a competitive time, it's right now. The conditions are perfect. There might be rain coming, so this is really my last chance to leave a good impression on the team, honestly. So I'm a little bit nervous. And honestly, I'm not even nervous for myself at the moment. I'm nervous for you guys because it's a test for you guys that I get rewarded with. So I want you guys to have that opportunity, but like if I can't perform, then it just simply isn't gonna happen. So I don't know, I'm under a lot of pressure, and I really haven't felt this way in quite a few years since I last left professional racing. I'll give it my best shot.
Game time. We even got the vents closed on the hood to improve aero, reduce drag. So we're throwing the whole kitchen sink at this for lap time. Now it's all up to me to put it together.
Okay, so first things first, I need to get the tires up into the optimal temperature window. And the way you do this is by doing an out lap where you're gently driving on the tires, and then you do a warm-up lap where you're kind of pushing but not really. Traditionally, when people think of tire warm-up, they think of leaving the tires, but actually the best way to warm up the tires is through braking and letting the brake discs radiate into the tire, and by driving fairly quickly through high-speed corners. And immediately as this fresher set of tires started getting warm, I could already tell there was a noticeable bump in grip. This is the moment I've been waiting for because it can finally show the team what I'm really capable of. That is until the racing gods decided not to give me that chance.
No, it's raining. No, you gotta be kidding me. Oh my God, you cannot make this up.
Now, I'm not used to having a windscreen in front of me, so my gut reaction was maybe the rain wasn't as bad as I thought it was, so I'm just gonna keep pushing. But only a couple of corners into the lap, and I could already feel that there was a lot less grip than before. My chances at putting a competitive quali time is gone.
Dang it. You gotta be kidding me, man. God, you really can't make this stuff up, man. It starts raining right when quali happens, and now I don't know if everything else I've done over the last 2 days is gonna be enough.
Honestly, you just can't write that. You can't make that up. Fresh tires. I was starting to warm up the tires there on the prep lap, and I started doing a push as soon as the rain started coming down, and you could really feel in the last corner, these tires were they're gonna be something magical. And then by the time I got down to the main straight, there was already enough water that I hit the brakes and already went wide. So you're supposed to, when it starts spitting on the visor, you're supposed to just ignore it for like a couple of laps until you really start to feel it. So I was trying to just keep pushing, but it didn't take long. It literally took half a lap before all of a sudden you were slipping and sliding all over the place. So all I can hope for now is that everything else I've done over the last 2 days is enough to make an impression on SEBECO, but I'm not really sure. I really don't.
But before SEBECO issues their final decision on whether you guys get a free subscriber test, I decided to do one more attempt to impress them.
Oh, it's very wet out there.
The rain continued to downpour after the qualifying session to the point where no other driver wanted to even go on track. So I had the idea, if I went out there and set competitive wet weather times without crashing the car, that maybe it would tip SEBECO over the edge. But maybe I'm in over my head.
A lot of standing water. Whoa, big puddles. Whoa. Okay, this is too much standing water. Trying to feel the grip. Big, whoa, big hydroplane there. Yeah, it's too sketchy. Way too sketchy. Oh yeah, way too much standing water. I'm gonna pit. Yep, no wet driving for me today. Hell no. Hell freaking no. That's too much. Even for wet tires.
I couldn't help but feel disappointed that I didn't get the quali lap in, and I couldn't even show them what I was capable of in the wet conditions, but honestly, better safe than sorry.
Thoughts?
Hell no.
Okay.
That's deadly.
So now, all that there was left to do was get the final verdict from SEBECO. All the hard work over the last 2 days was leading up to this moment.
Cal, it's been 2 intense days. I've been pushing as hard as I possibly can, but ultimately the decision is yours. Did I meet your expectations or?
Well, we had a few things that we laid out for you. Obviously, working with the engineers, taking care of the car, but you did. Not only did you hit the lap time, you took care of the car, and great working with you. And we look forward to having one of your subscribers join us at Putnam Park later on this year to do a full test day with us.
That's right. Thanks to SEBECO, one of you are going to get to drive this car flat out later this year. All you need to do is visit the link in the description, fill out your details, and the winner will be announced very soon. But for those of you who are in this very moment ready to make the jump into professional level racing, then you can reach out to any of the teams you see on screen to experience a full arrive and drive style race weekend in one of these cars. It's literally as simple as you showing up and driving, and then you've got a top tier team running the show for you. Trust me when I say this, but this is an experience like no other, and I wish this program had existed when I started my own racing career. Contact info for all the teams is listed below, and thank you very much to SEBECO for making this all happen. With all that being said, I will see you guys on the next one.